Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship or rock formation. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In June 2011, Swedish treasure hunters using sonar equipment to scan the Baltic Sea floor between Sweden and Finland found something on their sonar screen that they could not explain. An object approximately 60 meters in diameter at the bottom of the sea, sitting on a raised pillar of material, with what appeared to be a ramp or runner structure extending from it, and an unusual surface texture. Team leader Peter Lindberg described it as looking like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. The Ocean X team's sonar image became a global sensation, described variously as a sunken alien spacecraft, a Nazi anti-gravity device, and the lost city of Atlantis. When the team returned to dive on the object, what they found surprised even the skeptics. While failing to confirm the spaceship hypothesis, it also raised genuine questions about what the formation actually is. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Governments keep secrets. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is documented fact, confirmed by declassified archives, freedom of information disclosures, and the confessions of officials long after the events in question. The United States government ran secret programs to test psychedelic drugs on unwitting civilians MKultra, to spy on its own citizens, COINTELPRO, and to cover up nuclear testing incidents that killed American soldiers. The British government suppressed information about UFO encounters by military personnel for decades. The Soviet Union systematically falsified scientific data to maintain ideological conformity. None of this means that every government secret involves supernatural phenomena or alien contact. The reality of classified programs is almost always more mundane. Military technology being tested covertly, intelligence operations that cannot be publicly acknowledged, or simply the bureaucratic instinct to classify first and justify later. Most UFO sightings that turn out to have official explanations were classified aircraft. Most government denials of anomalous phenomena are straightforwardly honest. The phenomena being denied are simply not real. But the documented history of government secrecy has a practical effect on investigative credibility. When officials deny knowledge of events that witnesses describe in compelling detail, that denial cannot be taken at face value without independent corroboration. The proven track record of institutional concealment means that institutional denial, however authoritative it sounds, is not the same as evidence of absence. This complicates every modern mystery that touches on official narrative. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship or rock formation, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Ocean X team, a Swedish commercial salvage company, discovered the anomaly using side-scan sonar in June 2011 while searching for sunken cargo ships in the Baltic Sea. The object sits at approximately 85 meters depth between Sweden and Finland. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes, but as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the initial sonar image showed a roughly circular formation approximately 60 meters in diameter with a raised central mound, a trailing tail structure, and what appeared to be a surrounding moat or channel. The sonar image was striking, but sonar images are known to produce ambiguous representations of seafloor features. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this. And that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. The Ocean X team returned to dive on the object in June 2012. They found the formation to be composed of stone rather than metal. Team members described unusual electrical effects. Camera equipment, satellite phones, and other electronics experienced unexplained failures when within 200 meters of the structure, then resumed functioning normally when the divers moved away. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, geologists who examined the available evidence and dive reports proposed that the Baltic Sea Anomaly is a natural glacial erratic deposit, a formation created by glacial movement during the last ice age, when massive sheets of ice transported and deposited boulders in distinctive patterns. The Baltic Sea bed contains many such formations. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the reported electronic failures experienced by the Ocean X team are the most difficult aspect of the case to explain. Unconventionally, however, the divers may have experienced problems with pre-existing equipment malfunctions that they attributed to proximity to the anomaly after its discovery. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: no independent scientific team has dived on the Baltic Sea Anomaly with scientific instrumentation. The Ocean X team's commercial interests have led them to manage information about the site carefully, and geologists who have proposed natural explanations have not been able to examine the formation directly. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship, or rock formation. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the Baltic Sea Anomaly is a natural glacial deposit, a formation created by glacial transport and deposition during the last ice age. The Baltic Sea contains many such formations, and the specific shape visible in the sonar image is consistent with a glacially sculpted rock deposit rather than an artificial structure. This is the mainstream geological explanation. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the Baltic Sea Anomaly is an ancient human construction, possibly a fireplace or cooking area from the pre-flood period when the Baltic Basin was dry land, approximately 11,000 years ago. Stone formations from pre-flooding human occupation have been found in other Baltic Sea locations. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the Baltic Sea Anomaly is a structure of unknown origin whose anomalous electromagnetic properties, if genuine, suggest materials or processes not consistent with either natural geology or known human construction. This interpretation requires taking the electronic failure reports at face value. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree, that is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship, or rock formation does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes diver reports of the formation being composed of stone are consistent with the glacial deposit explanation and inconsistent with a manufactured metal craft. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented the sonar image, while dramatic, is consistent with natural seafloor formations produced by glacial activity, including documented glacial deposits in other parts of the Baltic Sea. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the reported electronic failures have not been independently confirmed and may reflect equipment problems or observer bias rather than an actual electromagnetic anomaly at the site. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship, or rock formation. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The Baltic Sea Anomaly remains a source of online speculation, despite the most plausible explanation being a natural glacial formation. The fact that no independent scientific team has dived on the formation with proper instrumentation means that the glacial explanation, while most likely, has not been definitively confirmed. The case illustrates how striking visual images, even from ambiguous sonar data, can drive viral interest in phenomena that subsequent investigation finds unremarkable, and how the commercial interests of discoverers can slow the independent investigation that would resolve the question. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Baltic Sea Anomaly, spaceship, or rock formation. From the historical record, rough the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Baltic Sea Anomaly ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in Taos' documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.